Welcome to episode 234.
I'm your host, David Stewart, and today we have an incredible conversation with Jennifer Maanavi, founder and CEO of Physique 57, pioneer in boutique fitness and a fierce advocate for keeping fitness central to the wellness conversation.
Wellness is taking over and it's not bringing fitness with it. And I really coined the term wellness is the death of fitness. Yes, I believe there are many distractions in the ever-growing, huge wellness industry all along the continuum. And it is very hard for people with limited time and limited resources to make the right decision to find the best outcome.
Jennifer's journey from Wall Street to the bar studio is not just inspiring, it's a masterclass in how fitness can be both transformative and foundational for living a long, vital life. We'll be diving into why exercise is a non negotiable pillar of wellness, especially as it gets easier and easier to get distracted with all these new trends. Really quick, before we start, are you part of the Aegis community yet? If not, head over to aegis.com/newsletter and join us to get our best in class weekly magazine delivered to your email inbox each Thursday. It's free. And if you love what we're doing here, help us grow. Please leave a review, subscribe, follow us on social media at We Are Aegis, and share this episode with a friend. The bigger our community, the more expert insights and inspiration we can bring to you. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment after a word from our sponsor.
Today's show is brought to you by Timeline Nutrition with their breakthrough product, MitoPure, the first clinically tested urolithin A supplement, which is showing tremendous results for mitochondrial health. Go to timelinenutrition.com/Aegis, use the code Aegis at checkout, and save 10% off your first order of MitoPure. Today's show is also brought to you by Our Place. I've just started using some of their pots and pans. Oh my God. Okay, so they're beautiful, and guess what? They don't have any of those nasty chemical coatings on them that are, unfortunately, forever chemicals. I don't want to be eating that stuff. You don't either. Go to FromOurPlace.com, enter the code Aegis at checkout, receive 10% off site-wide. Our Place offers a 100-day trial with free shipping and returns. Today's show is also brought to you by LMNT, spelled LMNT. Go to drinkelement.com and get yourself a free 8-serving sample pack with the purchase of any of their electrolyte drink mixes.
Jennifer's perspective on the fitness wellness landscape is refreshingly honest. Let's give her a call right now. Hey, Jennifer, how are you?
I'm good, David. How are you?
I'm all right. Where does this podcast find you today?
I am on the Upper East Side of Manhattan.
It's so classic to say that, right? I love that. At
Thank
some
you.
point when I grow up, I'm going to live on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. That's
That's
how.
funny because when I grow up, I want to leave the Upper East Side.
Oh,
Which we'll swap.
that's good. I know your background, but tell everybody about your illustrious past.
Sure. So I have been in the fitness industry for 20 years, but prior to that, I was in finance. And then prior to that, I was a regular dancer from Westchester County. And I started dancing when I was about 2. And I danced all throughout high school and then a bit in college. And I didn't want to pursue it professionally, but I have had a love for, mind, body, movement, connection my whole life. However, at the time I did, graduated from college, I pursued finance career, went to business school, worked at firms like Morgan Stanley, Deutsche Bank, just a very traditional upbringing and a very traditional life. And then I really only had one hobby, which was fitness. And as a dancer, I was always looking for an exercise method that would feel good in my body. So I experimented with a few other types of group exercise, and they were fun, fun music, fun teachers. But I just felt like I don't really know that I'm supposed to do this for the rest of my life. Like, I don't know that I'm going to be going up and down a step, into my 70s and 80s. And I was talking to a friend about what she was doing for exercise, and she told me about this bar class called the Lottie Burke method. Now, important that at the time it was not called bar, it was called a strength training class. And it was a strength training class that was very, very hard. You work your muscle to complete exhaustion, you stretch for relief, you work on flexibility. It's on the Upper East Side, a very nice clientele, and suggested that I try it. And I was just finishing business school, so I had a little bit extra time. And I tried it. And I mean, David, really within 10 minutes of taking that class, I knew I would do this for the rest of my life. It just felt so right. Now, I went as a client for 5 years, And one day I walked into the studio and they literally had like just a notebook paper taped up to the wall. This is 2005 that said they were closing. Long story short, I was deeply concerned for my own well-being and my body and everything I had learned about exercise. And I just didn't want to go back to my gym life from before. And I did everything I could to either buy that business or keep it alive in some way, shape, or form. And a wonderful owner of that business helped me to find my co-founder, Tanya Becker, and we created a new business with her blessing. So within about 6 weeks of her studio closing, Tanya and I started Incorporated and started Physique 57. So I left Wall Street, left all sorts of certainty in my life, and I became an entrepreneur in the fitness industry, like, overnight. I mean, it really took me, like, 48 hours to realize I had to do this, and I'm glad I did. And so, started Physique 57 in 2006, and this is before boutique fitness was even a name for it. This was what I had described, a place where you could exercise that feels like your friend's apartment. That's all I would say. That's what I said to the architect, that's what I said to the PR firm. Yeah, not many people know this, but it was like 5 years before anyone even called it the boutique fitness industry. Before that, it was just, Jennifer and Tanya teach this exercise with a ballet bar in it. And then someone called it bar exercise, which I don't think is the perfect name for it, but that's okay. And then we've had many studios in New York. We expanded to Los Angeles. We created DVDs. I then decided to expand internationally. So we went from New York to LA, then back to New York, and then to Dubai, Bangkok, and India. And a long time ago, when DVD sales started to fall, a very smart 24-year-old in my company said, "You're supposed to digitize your content." It's like, what does that even mean? Luckily, she was persistent and explained that you can take your DVD content and put it on the internet. So we did that in 2012, and that became a very nice business. And we had the pandemic. We closed a couple studios, opened some new ones, et cetera, et cetera. But at this point, I've been in the industry for a really long time and observing behavior, having obviously lots of conversations about fitness, and some people love it and some people don't. And we try to have honest conversations about what the barriers are and where fitness fits in. Most of my clients are female, so I will admit I have sort of a female perspective, but obviously I think, hopefully a human perspective on where fitness lies in the wellness continuum.
Fitness and wellness. How do you intersect these two?
Yes. So I had a front row seat to the evolution, I think, of the wellness industry. And a long time ago, like in early 2000s, I think wellness was like green juice. Like wellness equaled I drink green things. So I've been in the industry for a very long time. Very few places were even selling healthy food, if you can believe it. Remember Organic Avenue? I don't know if you remember that company. They were
Right.
selling green juice and it was like, oh my goodness. They unfortunately didn't last very long, but Juice Press came along and that was a big deal. In my world, wellness was nutrition and fitness. And nutrition became, people had nutritionists, that became important, and people were marrying fitness with nutrition. And for many people, that was wellness, at least in New York or in America. And I think different definitions, probably a little more holistic other places, but here, fitness definitely sort of led the way. And then we started to see like hot yoga come into like the fitness world, and then meditation. Like I took a meditation class in like maybe 2012, 13. So we started to see fitness and nutrition expand to other areas, which was good. You had the physical, and then you had like the spiritual, you had mental, emotional, like all of the things. But then we had the pandemic. And what I saw, like with my own eyes, mostly through Zoom, obviously, but just through the press and through conversations with people all over the world, really, because at that point we were in like 6 or 7 countries when the pandemic came, was an explosion. Which is good, by the way, an explosion in the wellness industry. And now there's forest bathing, and there's a lot more about meditation and taking time alone and how to deal with the pandemic's consequences on your mental well-being. And wellness really took a turn on like mental wellness and just other areas outside of fitness. Also, we did not have as much access to the gyms and the studios we were going to. People started working out from home, but it was really kind of in the shadows for a while, and all of these other areas started to become more popular. And I was concerned. I really was. And I really thought there was a problem. And, I didn't want to say too much at the time because everyone was dealing with like crises. But I was like, you know what? Wellness is taking over and it's not bringing fitness with it. And I really, coined the term wellness is the death of fitness. And I still believe that's happening. I see some changes, but with the onset of like these wearables and some other areas in the wellness industry, I'm just finding that fitness has to reclaim its central role in the wellness world. And I speak to nutrition as well. And fitness has become like, oh, and I also work out, or I don't even work out anymore, but I do all these other things. And I think we've stepped away from the fact that you have to have fundamentals and all of these other areas of wellness have to be built upon a foundation. They're not instead of. So I'm finding that there's an or instead of an and happening in the wellness industry.
Yes, as we mentioned earlier, going to Othership for a 90-person group sauna is an incredible experience. This is not fitness. This is something else, which is fine, but
Yes.
it's different. So let's think about how we rank these things. Let's think about ranking them in terms of the number one way that human beings die across the planet is cardiovascular. The second one is cancer. And then you have diabetes, you have brain health. And I think number five is, I should know this. I think it's like accident. I think you run over by a car or something. But so nothing in wellness or fitness is going to help us with getting run over by cars.
No.
But the other top four,
Yes.
so if we think those are the primary drivers of reducing our health span, reducing our lifespan, how do we think about ranking these things? My experience with so much of well-being and wellness, it really comes down to time management. So what are you going to spend your time and your resources on versus if your desired impact is to live healthier and longer, what do you do?
I completely agree, and I'm glad you brought up the time management because there's everyone has limited resources, whether it's financial or time. I mean, there's only 7 days in the week. We only really do any of these activities till like 9 or 10, and we're actually losing time because thankfully we're all going to bed earlier. So I think actually our the time we have is actually less, and you do have to really kind of force rank these opportunities that you have, and also for wallet share. And that's, as a business owner, I'm very aware of that also. And I actually want to say that fitness is pretty cheap relative to these other offerings. So, like, not only should fitness have a central role, also recognize it's in many cases the least expensive thing you can do, and you can go running in the park. Obviously, that's free. There's a lot of things you can do that are no cost, and then there's price per class or gym memberships. Like there's a lot of a lot of ways to work out. Exercise and fitness is like a low lift as far as a financial contribution. Everything else, I think, other than meditation, though, gets stacked onto it. But I think something that I've been thinking about, especially going back a long time, is the food pyramid, which I was born in the '70s and very much raised which is on the food pyramid, and I don't know if you've looked at the old ones anytime soon, but anytime recently, but the food pyramid from the '70s, '80s is so crazy. It's like pasta and rice you're supposed to be eating all day long, and then you have some vegetables, and then you have some fruit, and then maybe you have some protein, and then you're allowed to have a little bit of olive oil, but, you could die if you have too much olive oil. So that was the food pyramid. And then they changed it a couple years ago to the food plate, where there's these 4 or 5 different sections, and you're supposed to like either have all or some of them every particular day. But I don't think, to your point with ranking these opportunities or different areas in the wellness industry, I don't even think it should be a pyramid. I don't think it should be a plate. I think there should be a couple non-negotiables. And then based on your preferences and your lifestyle, you can add on to that. But the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like safety, belonging, self-actualization, like there's certain things we just have to have in order to be happy, healthy people. And I think nutrition and fitness are those things. I mean, and you talked about brain health and there's people can talk more about this, but brain and mind are 2 different things. Like, you have to have a healthy brain to have a sound mind, and you have to have a healthy body in order to even benefit from these other areas. And I mean, recovery, let's just say one thing. Recovery is to recover from the strain that you're putting on your body from exercise. And good, I don't mean bad strain, I mean like good strain. And people are, I don't, they're doing cold plunges but not working out. Like, well, what are you recovering from? Like just being alive? Like you have to recover from something. So I would say the fitness and the health are the foundations, and then ranking on top of that, I'd love your opinion too. I mean, I also think meditation is terrific, yoga is amazing. Obviously, there's even social wellness, spending time with friends, sexual partners, that's also part of it. Like, there's so much, there's intimacy, there's so much that we have to have in our lives. But when you don't have those two basics, and I can speak more to fitness than I can nutrition, I don't think you're going to maximize the value of these other elements, and you're kinda wasting your time.
There's certain things that we can all agree upon. Pretty much. Like, going to bed is a good idea. Like, we're not gonna get nobody's I don't know, maybe there's some people out there who don't agree with that, but you need to sleep, right?
Yes, of
Like,
course.
you need to be purposeful about what you put in your mouth. You're not 19 anymore. You need to be purposeful about this, and I think that fitness is the same thing, and I love what you said. In order to have a mind, you have to have a brain. It's like all this stuff, people think about, well, it's midlife. What are they going to do with the rest of their lives? They're thinking about things. They're somewhat confused. That's wonderful. Keep in mind that this all sits on your body. Body not working, nothing else working. Like, there's some Indian proverb about a healthy body, you have a lot of problems. Unhealthy body, you have one problem.
100%. 100%, and we see it all the time, I mean, especially with, women too, but men, I mean, like, strokes are going up for people under 50, and maybe it's,
Yeah.
people are pointing fingers at what it could be from, but, I mean, point your fingers all day long. Probably if you are working out, and we can talk all about different forms of exercise, but in eating well, just the chances are reduced. Not saying it's not going to happen, it's just reduced. And to your point about growing older, I think what I find almost confounding is people like, oh, I'm so excited. Very excited to have grandchildren. And where am I going to retire? And, at this age that I'm 50, I'll be 54 next week. And the imagination runs wild, and which is a beautiful thing. But you bring yourself there and you have to bring your body there. And when I work out at, say, 6 o'clock in the morning, I tell my children, I'm going to be the best grandmother ever. Like, I am working out so I can, like, preschool is sometimes around like the fifth floor of a building in Manhattan. Like, I'm going to pick up your children from nursery school no matter what. So I'm going to go to the gym now at 54. So that when I'm 84, you can still call me to babysit when you have a business trip. So you just have to, it's like, you have to think about now, like the present value, like who are you now and how are you going to bring yourself into the future? And I'm not saying that swimming in cold water is bad, or, I'm not saying wearables are bad. Nothing is bad. It's just what is really, really, really important, like non-negotiable. I think that's more of the story I'm trying to tell, is that there's just certain non-negotiables, and everything else can be put on top depending on how much time you have, what your interests are, money, etc. But to eliminate fitness or reduce fitness as you're getting older is not a good idea.
No, it's, back to the plate modality. You need the food on the plate for the spice that you're going to put on.
100%.
Okay. But
So
if you just have a plate of spice, that's not really going to help you out. And I appreciate a lot of the social aspects of what people are doing. I think this is great. I think it's great to walk in the woods. I do a lot of this other stuff. These things are optional. The other three things, sleep, what am I eating, and what's my fitness? These are not negotiable. Like, you just have to do them. And I think that in some parts of the sort of wellness world, that those fundamentals have, as you said, sort of like, well, we can substitute, right? Like,
right.
I don't know, whatever sort of thing you want to do. And I'm saying any things are bad, but okay, if the number one way you're going to die, chances of dying, is some cardiovascular disease. Okay, so walking in the woods will indeed reduce your stress level. Your cortisol is going to come down. Okay, this is great. But what are the metrics involved with cardiovascular fitness? Your VO2 max, your resting heart rate, your
Right.
blood pressure. These things, if you've got an hour, you only have an hour,
Exactly.
what's going to move the needle on that most?
I know, and I think in business, we would think that way, right? Or we do think that way. Um, like it's return on employee, return on investment. It is this, what are the best clients to have? We do it all day in business, whether you own a business or you work for a business. Like we're doing this all day, but we're not doing it in our personal lives. And you mentioned wellness, and I will go so far as to say the medical community doesn't do it either. And I'll share a story that I just switched doctors. I went to the doctor. My doctor's my age. I've had the same doctor for like, I don't know, 15 years. She's asking me for exercise advice. She's telling me about her brain fog. She's telling me like she's so tired. And I'm like, she's telling me that she like losing her memory. I was like, but you're my you're my doctor.
Uh,
So my company's called, I'm not even sure I said the name. My company's Physique 57, and it's a bar fitness company. And I said to her, I own Physique 57, as you know, and it's literally 6 blocks from this office. You're my guest. You come take class. Let's see how you feel. She didn't even show up. And here she is complaining to me about her physical state and her mental state. And so the medical community is, I don't think they're ignoring fitness. So doctors, I think, are saying there's wearables and there's better data, which you're talking about. There's a ton of data now. I just wish they were more saying, let's try this exercise routine and then let's show what happens. And you gave a great example that you changed your running patterns and your VO2 max went up after you changed your running patterns. And that's exactly right. You tried something, you measured it, it worked, and now you feel great. It's just not everyone is doing that. And my dad is, he's very healthy. He had heart surgery and they gave him this list of things to eat and not eat. It was so vague. It was so not helpful. Like he didn't even know what to do with it. So from the nutrition point, we're not even being that helpful. It was like downloaded from some
yeah.
1970s mainframe. I don't I don't know where this thing came from, but just like this list, like, "Don't eat this." And then, this 87-year-old man's going home, like, "What am I supposed to be eating today?" So, I just wanna say I'm not sure the medical community is, like, completely on board with if you can do these things, then we can track it, and then you might have an improved health span. I just don't think they're really right,
It's
in line with it.
You break your arm, they're great,
Perfect. Yes.
right? We live in a world of siloed expertise, and my my personal physician, sure, her docket was full, but she took me on because she always asked me questions like, "How does this work? How are you doing?" So it's like I'm not a doc. I mean, but I ask her. It's like, okay, let's look at these labs. How does my kidney function here look compared to? So she's expertise in scanning for disease. So she's very, very good at that. I would not ask her fitness questions or only the most vague nutritional questions would I ask her. But there are people like yourself who are fitness experts. And I could ask you about these questions, or I could ask somebody who really knows about food, like, okay, like, how's this work? I hope you're enjoying the conversation so far. We'll be right back with Jennifer after a message from our sponsors.
Today's show is brought to you by Timeline Nutrition and their product MitoPure. I started taking MitoPure after I ran their science through our science review board, and they were very enthusiastic about it. In fact, most of the people on my science advisory board and their families now take MitoPure. So why do I take MitoPure? I take it basically for health span because, the truth is, I want to be 90 and I want to be able to ski and hike and play and do all the things I do now. Think of MitoPure as these little Pac-Men in your cells, chomping up the damaged mitochondria that make you feel old and tired and recycling them into new, healthy ones. And mitochondria are our cell's power generators. They're a key influence in how we age. However, as the years pass, and I've passed a few years, mitochondrial efficiency naturally declines, representing a large gap in the quality of life we can expect in our later years from the ones we actually experience. So do what I do, and do what my science advisory board does. We take it every day. You're going to notice a difference in 4 to 6 weeks. Timeline is offering 10% off your first order of MitoPure. Go to timeline.com/ageist. That's TIMELINE.com/ageist. Get 10% off. You know, I've spent years talking about health longevity and optimizing how we live, but here's something we don't talk about enough: what we're cooking with. Most nonstick pans are still loaded with forever chemicals, stuff like Teflon and PFAs that can leach into your food and even the air in your home. Not great. That's why I've switched to Our Place. Their cookware is completely toxin-free, high performance, and ridiculously easy to clean. Their 4-piece cookware set replaces an entire cluttered stack of pots and pans, saving space and saving you $150 when you bundle. Plus, it comes in their signature gorgeous colors. I have the cast iron always pan in sage green, and it is beautiful. Upgrade your kitchen and cook with confidence. Head to FromOurPlace.com/ageist and use code ageist for 10% off site-wide with a 100-day risk-free trial. Why wouldn't you try it?
One of the features of the sort of modern age that we're in is we have personal agency in so much of this.
Mhm.
What goes along with that is responsibility. So, I mean, I'm gonna have surgery on my knee in a couple of weeks. HSS, I've spoken to, like, 5 of the top 10 knee people in the world. So, I sorta know what's gonna happen here. They're really, really good at this thing. I was like, "Okay, so, like, let's talk about pre-op, post-op, how's all this gonna work?" And it's, similar to your grandfather, I get this very vague set of stuff. When I ask for specificity on things, it's like, "We're gonna cut your knee open and we're gonna put this in here, and we're really good at that, and try and stay off it for a couple of weeks afterwards."
Right,
Like,
right. Right,
okay.
and then, I love, physical therapy is amazing,
Yeah.
and then they send you to physical therapy, and again, terrific, and I've been, I've done physical therapy, it's terrific. That's also, like you said, siloed. They're like, "Okay, we're just gonna look at this one knee."
Yeah.
But maybe they
Yeah.
don't realize that, like, you're putting pressure on that knee because you have misalignment somewhere else, and then you have to go to someone else to figure out that maybe it's a hip issue that's hurting.
Yeah.
It just goes on and on and on. And it would be lovely if there was someone out there who knew everything, and there's not, but if there could be a way for fitness to fit into, so, we are talking about fitness fitting into the wellness continuum, and then even the bigger picture someday is fitness fitting into the healthcare continuum, because it's still this other thing, and we, like I was sharing, even doctors are asking, "Should I work out?" And I understand, this is really a bold statement, and I understand that there are reasons this isn't happening. But with all the sleep research that we have, the fact that residents still have these 24-hour shifts and are performing surgery with not having slept in 34 hours, and then getting into car accidents after. And I've talked to doctors, like, why can't we change it? And I understand that you have to then hire twice as many residents, and then you don't have your 10,000 hours. And so there's some structural reasons why that is. But it's just interesting that doctors of all people have no sleep for, like, years. And I am no one to be, like, starting to change the medical system. I wanna say that. I'm just, again, as an observer in this industry, you tend to have a lot of different types of conversations, medical care being one of them, and I feel like I wish they were leader. I wish maybe the new crop, and the functional medicine doctors are great. Like, they can maybe say, you know, maybe 10 years from now, doctors won't work 12, 18-hour shifts and sleep in the closet. I don't know, but that would be nice. I'm happy to know that someone wasn't exhausted when they're performing surgery on someone I love. But that's, again, bold statement that I don't really have the right to say, but that's just sort of my intuition. Like, why, you know, who are the role models? I don't know who they are. Athletes are definitely, one thing. I have two boys and a girl, and I love when I watch my children, I say admire or learn from athletes talking about sleep, and they have the wearables, and now they're going to bed early, and now they're, not doing this because they're doing this instead. So they're teaching through social media
Mm.
driven. But adults, we don't really have that person. Like, we don't have, I don't know who that person is out there that could teach us. Stacey Sims I love, and I listen to her all the time. So maybe she's the one, but I wish there was there was someone who could talk about at our age how they're bringing all these things together and making the right choices and having like a couple different avatars, like a couple different people that could share it. But for now, I'm just finding that it's unfortunately people are going off into a lot of different directions, and I'm not so sure that they are healthier as a result. And I don't know that they are going to grow old as healthily as they think they are.
Fitness requires consistency over a long period of time, requires a certain amount of discipline and dedication. It can also be really fun, depends on what you do. It is the number one longevity drug in existence.
What
There's nothing, there's just absolutely nothing that comes close to it. It's much easier for someone to, look on TikTok and be like, "Oh, here they did, whatever kind of thing they're doing," and be like, "Oh, I'll do that. I'll look at the sun first thing in the morning." Okay, well, okay, fine. That's not be careful you don't blind yourself, but
That's
it's
so
not gonna,
funny.
like, really move the needle. It's a tiny adjunct, and it's on and on. I tell people it's like 98% of this is what goes into your mouth, are you sleeping, and how are you moving? Like, you gotta get all that right, and then, okay, then we can talk about the exotics, right? We can talk about these other things, and that's just sort of like wellness world. In medical world, the impulse to go for a pharmacological solution, because that's where the training is, and it's I mean, you just think if you're a doctor, so somebody comes in and they're pre-diabetic or they're fully diabetic. So you're like, okay, so you want to take this and like stop with the Mountain Dew. Okay. But it's much harder to say, like, here is this 3-month exercise program. Do this. That's like a much harder thing to prescribe for the doctor. Again, don't listen to me. I'm not a doctor, but there's like a 90% chance that your pre-diabetic or diabetic condition can be very quickly reversed if we talk about your activity level.
Completely, completely. And I going back to where I started in the fitness industry, this is in the 90s. Fitness at that point was just fitness, just like, okay, check the box, I did something. But when I found an exercise that I really liked, which in my case was bar fitness, so much so that I basically dedicated my professional life to it. What I found and why I decided to start this company and go all in was yes, I lost 2 dress sizes, which was nice. I didn't even know I had 2 dress sizes to lose, by the way, so I was like, "Oh, I didn't even know, like, I could do that." So from, like, just a high level, there was the vanity, you look better, it was fine. I was in the late 20s, and that was all good. But really, what I learned was I just felt so much smarter, more confident, and stronger. And I used to work at Morgan Stanley. And back in the day, if no one can believe this, but women wore like suits with stockings and high heels and like all that jazz. I don't know that anyone's wearing those outfits to Morgan Stanley anymore, but it was very traditional. And I like will always remember walking down those long trading floors feeling like in my high heels and in my like business suit, feeling these really, really sore thighs. And to me, that was a reflection of my discipline and my consistency and my love for my own body and just being in love with myself. And it was in Morgan Stanley, I liked working there, but it's competitive. Like, not a lot of women. I was one of the younger people. Like, you definitely had to fight for your seat at the table. And I cannot express enough how feeling physically stronger
Mm.
made me a better employee. It made
Mhm.
me a better, like, friend. I just was, like, bringing it all the time. And so for me, fitness turned into just something I would do because I'm supposed to really empowering. And what we're trying to do at Physique 57, and I think other studios are doing this too, and gym owners, is help people feel empowered and stronger and loving their own body and realizing that their body is the tool to a longer, healthier life. There's mental wellness there. There's even spiritual wellness in there. There's everything in that. And it is meditative. So when I am in class, I feel like it's meditative. I feel like there's a real emotional aspect. As we know, endorphins don't last forever. It's not like all day, but after you work out, you feel good. And when you feel good, you make better decisions also. So you're probably going to go reach for the healthier lunch or breakfast. You're probably just going to be monitoring, well, I don't want to eat so badly tonight because I have a workout in the morning. You might make different choices about alcohol, knowing that your exercise routine is going to require, some amount of energy from you the next day. So it really is a fundamental part of wellness. Like, I don't know how else to tell you that fitness is fundamental to all of wellness because it puts you in a different state. And if you can't manage your state, you can't manage your life. And if you can't manage your life, you're not going to manage your wellness. And you can jump in and out of cold water all day long and have a great time. I don't know what the ramifications of that are long term, and I don't know that it goes long and wide. I think it goes pretty much to I really had fun this morning. And bold statement, I know, and I haven't unfortunately been to other ship, but all these wonderful places that are starting, I'm so happy. I'm thrilled to hear that it's packed with people with bachelorette parties and everyone's having fun. It's amazing because when they weren't doing that, they were going to a bar, which that's fun too. So I'm all happy for restaurant owners. I just all of these things are terrific. I am so happy. I'm even happy that we can have this conversation because it's nice that there's even these options for people. It used to just be bar or gym or go home. And also, I will say one thing I'm happy about, my biggest competition for so long was Netflix. And now I'm glad at least the competition is these other wellness activities and not just Netflix. I think Netflix is probably suffering because everyone's out doing all this fun wellness stuff.
I read some stat last week that gym membership is at that includes fitness studio membership is at an all-time high. There's
Yeah.
something I recall something like 25% of Americans have some sort of membership. And the other interesting part of that is attendance
Mhm.
is at an all-time high. So this is really great. I think what we're talking about here is there's a confusion about doing other things like before we get to that it's not a substitute, right? I love red light therapy.
Amazing.
That's
I mean,
not it's not the same as what I did this morning at the gym. It's just like it's a different level of impact there.
exactly, and that's, going back to just I attend conferences, I have so many friends in the wellness industry, and I'm so happy that everyone is doing well, selling red light therapy and starting different businesses. It's, again, amazing. I mean, it used to be frozen yogurt, and in the past, female founders that I was friends with were not even anywhere close to fitness or an adjacency to fitness. It was just all these other businesses. I am thrilled now how many women and men are getting involved in fitness and at the big fitness conferences. Now there's dinners for all these women starting these new businesses, and everything is terrific, and I'm so happy. So this is by no stretch of the imagination a derogatory comment on the explosion of the wellness industry. It's the confusion, I think is a great point that you make. It's become so vast that it is harder for individuals to make decisions about, again, like there's 7 days in a week. There's only so much time. There's only so much financial resources. What should I really be doing to make an impact? It's just making an impact on your body. I mean, working out is hard. I mean, you have to sweat and not, actually in bar fitness, you don't sweat as much as you're just in some severe pain. So bar fitness for just so you know, it's interval overload. So you're working your muscles to exhaustion and then you stretch them and then you move on to the next muscle group and you just for an hour you are sort of, I wouldn't say torturing your body, but it's very hard. It's very hard. I understand that people might not want that. So there's other forms of exercise also. So you don't have to, it doesn't have to be so intense, but you do need some intensity. You do need to put strain on your body. And the Whoop and the Aura Rings and other wearables will show you when you're doing that, and then it will show you the benefit and the HRV and all of that stuff. It's so important to look at.
I have a relationship with my Whoop. Like, it's the first thing I do in the morning, like, how well I sleep. Like, I don't think that it's necessary. It's just sort of
Sure.
how I lean. It's about moving, and I think moving with purpose. And what I would say is the simple version is make it hard but infrequent. So, like, you can't do bar class for 8 hours a day. You would expire, right? But you do it, like, a small amount every day, or you do it, like, certain days of the week. You do HIIT training, once or twice a week. You do these things, and then the rest of the time, okay, awesome. You know, Sauna, cold plunge, go walk in the woods, meditate. These things are wonderful, and I think they work as a really there's a very wonderful synergy. Like, as you brought up in the beginning, what are you recovering from? So that's you got to do the from first,
Completely.
and,
You have to
and
start
then we get to the other part.
completely. Completely, completely. I mean, you don't get a hangover unless you drink. Like, you have to like, there's something you have to do for the other thing to happen. And
Yeah,
at this point, recovery might even be misnamed because I don't know how much evidence there is that people who are using recovery tools have actually exercised. I mean, I'm sure there is, and again, yet another bold statement, but it's just maybe it's not recovery, or maybe it started off as recovery, but now it should just have its own. But it is, I mean, and all those tools are great, like rolling out your muscles, like all those things are great. It's just it has to be a reaction to something that you've done to your body. Uh,
i- i- if that's the outcome you want, and I think that that's sort of the thing. Thinking about, like, why are you doing what you're doing, and what's the outcome you want?
I'm not saying people are making excuses, but now it's like anything you do that's outside, like looking at the sky before 9 a.m., is some sort of wellness celebration. Um, okay, but you're probably going outside before you knew that it was a good idea. It's just getting too much. I just think it's getting too much. And I think it's like I walk my dog, I look at the sky, and, I breathe and I call my friends and I'm good. I don't have to work out.
Yeah,
And
it-
that's extreme. I know, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. And I've been seeing it
yeah.
now for 5 years.
It's again like, what's the outcome you want? If it's about, you have a stressful life, you want to get some steps outside, it's like, okay, so you check the box. Okay, great. But it's not this other box. Just be clear about that. Like,
Yes.
and if this is the box you want to check, you're doing it. This is great. You're happy. Okay, super. If you want this other box, there's this other thing you got to do, and it's not this.
Completely clear.
Right.
The emphasis on the word outcome, I think, is really important, and I think that's great, and I have seen some more outcome-related conversations as it results to that. So, ironically, doctors are talking about strength training when it
Uh,
comes to GLP-1s because there is the data. You're losing
yeah.
muscle mass. You need to have it. You
Yeah.
need to do strength training. So that's a case where I have seen an outcome conversation aligning fitness and medicine. Like that I've seen.
Huh,
But
that's
not
great.
I don't see it in that many other places. But there it's like one to one. It's like if you do this, you have to do that. And I
Yeah.
think that's great. And I wish
Yeah.
that there was that direct correlation with other things like diabetes. Like if you're on diabetes medicine, then you have to do, I don't know, I'll make this up, 90 minutes of XYZ or zone 2, zone 5, like whatever you want to say. But I just wish it was almost prescribed because it kind of is. Like with,
Mm,
from what I'm understanding, when clients come into Physique 57 or just other people, talking about exercise, it's like, well, the doctor told me I have to do strength training because I just don't see that happening across the board, like, "I had a heart attack, therefore I have to do this." It's not really that direct, so I have been very happy
mm.
about that very obvious public
Yeah.
relationship between exercise and GLP-1s, but I don't know about you, but I just don't hear that, like, all the time. I think, like, with diabetes, it's like there's diet and there's other things too, but I just wish it was like, "I'm here," like, someone could walk into a gym and say, "I'm here because my doctor told me to come because I'm pre-diabetic, so I'm here." I do hear that with GLP-1s. Like, "I'm here because my
Mm,
doctor told me I have to be here." Like, that is great. I just don't see that across the board yet.
mm. I'm happy to hear that, actually. It would seem, again, I'm not a doctor, but if one were to prescribe a GLP-1, I think it would just be irresponsible to not say,
Mhm.
you must strength train, you must up your protein content. or else you're going to become frail. You're going to fall down, break your hip, and you're going to die. So,
Right.
like, you need to do this other thing. And it may be because the GLP-1s are new.
Mhm.
And so it's easy to put this sort of adjunct of fitness as part of the prescription. And there's so much data on the GLP-1s about muscle loss. And then, we all know what the outcomes of muscle and bone loss are, very not good. But it's the same with like all these other ones. I mean, it's really interesting what you brought up. I'm hopeful that the GLP-1s are sort of become a gateway. Like, I never would
Yeah.
have thought I would say this, but
No,
it's like
no.
a gateway to fitness is the GLP-1. You asked me that a year ago, I would not think that was true, but I can see why that would be, and I can see that for the physician, if you're essentially prescribing a fitness routine for this medication, that opens the doorway to prescribing a fitness prescription for other medications and other conditions.
Yes. Yes, it should be, and you would think even, like, a hospital stay should be a gateway to fitness. You'd think that it like, again, talking about the healthcare continuum, you'd think that fitness would be the healthcare continuum. The only time I have seen it in these 20 years of being in this industry, an obvious relationship between medicine and fitness is GLP-1s. And
Hmm.
I'm not when I say obvious, I mean, like, they just say it. They come in
Yeah.
and they're like, "I'm here because, I'm here because, I'm here because, I'm here because,"
Yeah.
which a prescription, like a paper prescription is, "I'm here because." Like, "I'm going to
Yeah.
CVS because my doctor told me to
Yeah.
get this."
Yeah.
It should just be the same. And
Yeah.
in some cases, I think when you do have, like, a heart issue, then you go to these special rehab places and there's treadmills, and then they tell you to go to the gym and do that treadmill, and so there are cases, certainly many, many cases where that's actually happening. I just wish it was happening all the time, not sometime or doctor dependent
Yeah.
or, ailment dependent. It should just be that doctors are always telling you that you should exercise. No, it's sick care versus preventative care,
Yeah.
and fitness is preventative care. It is the key to preventative care, and so is nutrition, and so is nutrition. And I, with 3 children, always trying to help them to eat healthy, which is always a battle, but there's so much out there about, ADHD and nutrition and just general wellness with nutrition. So nutrition's a big, big part of this too. I'm not in that industry, so I'm not speaking about it too much, but there's so much there about brain food. And then just, to also talk about supplements, because supplements is a huge industry. And I think something else that's an analog to this conversation is sort of like where nutrition falls in with supplements. Because from
Yeah.
my understanding is supplements are supposed to like augment
Mhm.
what you're already eating and be outcome related also. It's
Mhm.
not instead of. So it's not, I'm
No.
eating, McDonald's, but then don't worry, I have my supplements over here. Everything we're doing, like I take creatine because I do strength training and it helps me with strength training. I don't take creatine so I can watch White Lotus. Like, there's different, you're like, we don't just take a supplement because we take a supplement. You have to take a supplement because it's going to help you with something that you're already doing. And there should be an outcome to it. So I think supplements is like a whole other conversation, and there's so many of them, and that's mind blowing as well.
Jennifer, I'm so glad you took time out of your day today to have this conversation with us. I've really enjoyed it.
Yes, well, thank you.
We're very aligned on the fitness wellness thing.
Thank you for your cause. I've been listening to your podcast,
Thank you.
and you are really leading the way in so many areas of the data and the action and the outcomes. It's terrific.
Thank you so much. It's very kind of you. Hoping you have a wonderful rest of the day on the Upper East Side of Manhattan,
Thank you.
and I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care now. Bye. That was a fun conversation with Jennifer Maanavi. Fitness isn't just one option on a long menu of wellness trends. It's really almost like the plate that everything else sits on. Now, there's a lot of other stuff out there, as we talked about, and there are exceptions, and we're all walking different paths. But I can say that in most cases, having some kind of physical activity is crucial to wellness. Fitness is what all this stuff sits on. It's the main meal. It's not the distraction. So hearing Jennifer talk about working out so she could be the best future grandmother, that was pretty great. For most people, it isn't about running marathons or hitting PRs. It's just about being able to say yes to life for as long as we can. And that's what Jennifer is reminding us today. Fitness today is an investment in the life that you want to live tomorrow. So today I am in Las Vegas, Nevada. I know some people love Vegas. I think it's just one of the weirdest places on the planet. I sort of get why people would want to live here because of the weather. I know there's a lot of sports folks that live here. I have friends who are big athletes and they live here. It's not my scene, what can I say? So I'm here to give a little talk tomorrow for some people in the finance industry. We're going to talk about optimism. We're going to talk about tracking, and we're going to talk about how you feel about things today impacts your behaviors for where you're going tomorrow. So that'll be fun. Coming up in the Aegis newsletter this week, we are sharing one of our favorite profiles from some of the past years. It's an interview we did with the iconic Bobby Brown, who I believe is Time Magazine top 100 people of the year or something. I mean, Bobby's amazing. We've also got a drinkable yogurt recipe with mango. It's healthy and it's made with real ingredients. Let's get with Just Try This after a brief word from our sponsors.
Did you know that just pounding water all day is not going to keep you hydrated? You need the right mix of electrolytes in that water to help that water be absorbed properly and also to help your body function well with the right electrolytes. Element, LMNT, contains sodium, potassium, and magnesium, which are critical for helping our brains and our bodies function. One of the unfortunate facts is as we get older, it's harder to drink water, essentially because our thirst response is diminished. So we need to put extra emphasis on drinking water, staying hydrated with the right electrolytes. Of course, if you are pre-hypertensive or have hypertension, check with your doctor before having anything with sodium in it. For the rest of us, though, Element is a great solution. Go to drinkelement.com, that's DRINK, LMNT.com, and get yourself a free 8-serving sample pack with the purchase of any electrolyte drink mix.
So this week on Just Try This, I want to talk a little bit about dancing. I know I mentioned my experience with African dance a little bit last week, but it's spring, so what a great time to shake a leg. Well, dancing is great exercise, and it turns out to be really good for our brains. There was a 2003 paper in the Journal of Neuroscience and Behavioral Reviews that states that dance and music engage overlapping brain networks, including common regions involved in perception, action, and emotion. In music and dance, rhythm and melody and harmony are processed in an active, sustained pleasure cycle, giving rise to action, emotion, and learning led by activity in specific hedonic brain networks. That's what they wrote. So long story short, get your groove on. A few of my go-to songs that always get me moving are anything from Beyonce. Love Beyonce. And I gotta say, I'm sort of turning into this hip hop fan, like classic Jay-Z. I don't know, showing my age. I will tell you, I interviewed a neuroscientist back about 4 years ago talking about how music, especially playing music and dancing to music, causes all these new neural connections in the brain. And I can tell you from my time with African dance, oh my God, it was hard. It was like learning Mandarin or something. It was incredibly difficult. But once I got it, it was kind of awesome. So springtime, go out there, try a little dancing. Get yourself a dance teacher. You don't know how to dance. Pick something that you like. Maybe you want to do tango. Maybe you want to do moonwalking. I don't know. Check it out. It'll be good for you. Don't forget, if you enjoyed today's show, please like, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening. Drop us a comment. We love hearing from all of you. And always stay strong, stay curious, and have a fantastic day. See everybody next week. Take care now.